Hello, this is Angela Brooks, and I am going to share a blog post that I wrote over on angelabrook.com this week. And the title of it is Hi, I'm Angela. And the reason I wrote that is because people follow us on social media, and then you have a lot of new people coming in and they don't know who you are. So it's always good to reintroduce yourself. And that's what I want to do here on the podcast today is reintroduce myself to you. If you're new to the podcast, thank you for hanging out here. If you have been with me for a while, then you know a little bit about my story, but I think I'll share some things that you may not know. As of this December, my life looks much different than it did 7 years ago. I was getting up at 4 a.m. to get ready for work. I was miserable. I worked at a psychiatric hospital for 25 and a half years. So today, when I wake up, I'm ready to go to work with a purpose. I'm on a mission. I know how to serve people differently than I was doing that in nursing. So, sometimes you get into a job and it just becomes drab, and you dread it because it's the same old thing. Nothing that really lights your fire. I never wanted to really go into sales, but sales kind of found me, and then it snowballed and led me down a path that I knew nothing about. And I mean nothing. I spent 2 decades, maybe more, stretching my finances just as far as they would go. I could do a budget down to the penny. I lived well. My bills were paid, but I didn't have any idea how I would make this business thing work. So I just decided that it was going to. I didn't know how to get started. I didn't know where to get started. I started blogging, and that in itself was a learning curve. So, I didn't have everything in order to get started. I just got started because I knew for a fact what my present job was doing for me. The last 8 years that I was employed, we got no raises of any kind. And people always look at me like, you're full of it. No, no raises. To this day, I've been retired 7 years. On top of the 8 years when I was presently working, they still haven't gotten a raise. And the economy is raised. So I don't know how to talk to people. I didn't know how to talk to people about products. I do now. I didn't know much about the products when I got started with the company that I was with, but I wanted to work. I wanted it to work so bad that, I was afraid, like everybody else, that I was going to screw it up. And honestly, if you're talking to people and sharing your product and talking to people about what you do, you really can't screw it up. The only thing that you can screw it up is just not do anything. And, I had 45 minutes that I drove to work and from work every day, and I would listen to a podcast. And one of them that really stuck in my head was the person who was speaking on the podcast said, there's only two answers when you ask somebody about your product, yes or no. And then they said, what would happen if they said no to you? And, you stop and think, it's like, well, what would happen? Nothing. You just move on. You just go forward. You don't have to keep begging people to buy your product. I literally look at it as I planted a seed. They now know what I do. And in return, if I can help them, they'll think of me. And this has literally happened to me multiple times over my career in network marketing. Is, for a long time, people watch you. They don't necessarily step in until they make sure that you're legit. And I had a girl that I worked with for 25 years at the hospital, known her for 30 something. She called and she said, hey, I need your help. I had a need about some essential oils, and you're the first one that popped up. She and I had never had the conversation, but she knew what I did. So don't think that people aren't watching you. They are. When that podcast said there's only two answers, I was like, okay, so what happens if they say no? And then I decided nothing would happen except I'd walk off or stop talking about it, whatever. I just go ask somebody else. They're not going to bite you. They're not going to throw sticks and stones at you. They're just going to go away. You know, as a nurse, when I was passing medications, I didn't know everything about every single pill that I handed out, but I had access to information, books, and websites to look up the data so that I was aware of what I was giving, because I didn't like giving medication to somebody that I didn't know something about the medication. I do the same things with our products that are in my network marketing company. You know, you don't have to know it all to get started. The biggest step is to say yes, decide you're going to make it work, and to go forward. I talked to a lady just last week, last week, I think, and asked her if she was ready to get started. You know, I was willing to jump in and stay with her for 30 days and work with her and get her going. And she said, I'm just too scared. And I'm like, what is it that you're afraid of? I don't know, but I'm just too scared. I'm not ready. So the longer that she's not ready, the longer it's going to be before her pay increases. So it just prolongs that goal of making enough money to pay for your monthly products or whatever it is that your goal for is. Every decision I made up to this point in my life was always built around my family and their well-being, and still is. But I lived my life as when I was working full time. I lived my life through text messages with my husband and with my boys while I worked, and I missed their young life growing up. My youngest son was 10, I think. 10, just turned 10 when I retired. And my oldest son, of course, by the time I retired, he was now in college, but I didn't want to miss anything in his college pitching history. I wanted to be there for all of it. And the only way I could do that at the time was to get out of working a schedule. So, you know, they grew up fast. My husband and I spent lots of time on texting the scores and how they played and, you know, where we were. And that's not exactly the life that I was wanting to live. So I became a professional sports chauffeur to my boys, fitting my business into the nooks and crannies of my life instead of the other way around. Now I focus an hour a day on my business. I get it done, and then I go spend time with my family. And of course, every day is not just 1 hour. There's some days that I put in multiple hours because I'm working on a project or something else needs to get done. But every hard decision that I have made around my business has formed the freedom that I now have. You know, as a nurse, I spent 30 years helping other people. Now my talents that I used as a nurse serving other people has been turned into something that can assist people, women thriving in their own space and using those skills in a different way. It's not like you have no skills. You've got this far in your life because of what you do and what you know, and you just take them and you bring it into your business. You don't have to turn into some weird person and talk into some weird language. You're just simply going to use your natural skills in your business. They match, they go together. So somebody asked me, what does my average day look like? When, you know, each day pretty much looks different, which I love, because I don't like routines. I don't like schedules. I don't like my calendar to be full and maxed out. I get up, I respond to emails, you know, that might take 10 or 15 minutes. Do my Facebook messages. I write emails if it's a day that emails are going out to my email list, which I highly suggest everybody have. And other days, I just pick up sticks in the yard and play with my dogs, literally. Walk across the farm. I cook dinner for my family, and I go into family mom mode. But I don't spend every awakening hour in my business because I have done the work to set up systems that are working for me out on the internet. And then that makes my life have a lot more freedom than it did before. So do I use my own products? Of course. I think there's a lot of people that try to do a business with products that they don't personally use, which I find it hard. You'll never find me without a pocket full of oils, either in my bag or in my pocket. I use Ninja Red, frankincense, Valor, white angelica, peppermint, and my enzymes for my gut health every single day, every single day. So I believe in being with a company that you can get behind and that you will use the products, because when you use the products, you talk differently about them than if you don't use them at all. My best tip on building a business is to use social media, and people who fight the use of social media is kind of like sabotaging their self. I don't understand what you're afraid of when people say, I don't want to use social media because people will make fun of me. Who gives a shit if they make fun of you? Those are not your customers. Those are not your people. One of the things I suggest is to post every day and often. There's no set number of times that you can post. I don't think you need to go into serial posting, but utilize your stories and your live videos for Facebook so that people get to see you, know you, and learn more about you. Create content that feels authentic to you. There is no right way. There is no wrong way to present yourself to the world. I just want you to be you. That's enough. It's truly enough. Choose the 5 pillars of things that you're most passionate about. What do you like to talk about? If you and I were going to hang out for a weekend, what would we do? What would we talk about? That's what you bring to social media. That's what people want to know about you. And people find social media so hard. It's like all you're doing is just exposing what you're doing during the day. Now, some people think that's weird. However, that's how people go, oh my gosh, that looks so fun. I would love to know more about that. Or I love to travel. Where did you go this weekend? Especially when we travel, I do lots of posts and lots of stories where people can follow along, and I get my best engagement when I share my day. It's amazing. It's pretty stinking amazing how much people like to follow your day and your life, and just seeing who you are and what you do. That's who they want to shop with, is somebody that they know. So my number 1 tip for social media: post every day, often. Consistency in network marketing or in business itself is everything. If I could tell another small business owner one thing I wished I knew initially, what would it be? You don't have to do everything that the world tells you to do. You get to pick what you like to do. I got sucked into that, and I was building funnels and programs and courses and all the things. And I hated it, even though I was very, very good at the information. I could educate you on how to make it happen, but I didn't enjoy doing the digital stuff to that level because there's so many pieces to it. So I hired somebody to do that for me. And it was immediate release for me. And you're going, oh, but I can't afford that. Well, I couldn't afford not to, because I needed to get the information out, but it was something I didn't enjoy. So I found a team member that I love to work with, and she does that for me while I go over here and create. So you get to pick what you like to do in your business. It's yours. You get to be you, all of you. I want to give you 3 of my top favorite podcasts for right now. That always changes. My friend Shauna Van Bogart, her podcast is Just Be, which teaches you how to settle and relax and don't try to prove to anybody, not even yourself, that you're something you're not. Just be you. It's all good. I love her podcast. Jessie Lee Ward, she is a network marketing queen, educator. She lost a business and rebuilt a business bigger than she had before in network marketing. Her podcast is The People's Mentor. And one I just fell on is the Sean and Sack show. There's a lot of hard language in there, a lot of hard topics, So if you're a sensitive little person and you get upset if somebody says shit, you probably don't need to go to Sean's podcast, because he really drops some interesting, but their podcast to me is just so interesting. And I get asked a lot, why did I pick essential oils? Well, in 2020, it turned many people's lives around in the blink of an eye. We saw a surge of women of all ages and stages of their life supporting their families with a home business. And I was more grateful than ever in 2020 that I worked at home. Number one, I didn't have to go through what all the nurses went through, because they went through pure hell. They went from hero to zero in less than 12 months, threatened and fired, and it was awful. And I was very grateful that I worked at home. Now I love to work with nurses who are wanting other options, not to give up nursing, because we need good nurses in our profession, but I also want them to have something on the side that they can work on, so that they're not 100% dependent on working for a facility, which happened to a lot of my friends. And they've reached out to me to start a business. Now, it's not fast. It's not immediate income like a paycheck is, but it certainly is there if something happened that fell out from under you. So the more research I did, and I understood the passive income, residual income, multiple streams of income, the more I realized how important it was to link myself with a social selling company, but it had to be the right one for me. After many failed attempts, and I lost count, but I know it was at least 6 different companies that I was with, I found the one that fit into my life. The one day I questioned if the products were even suitable for my family. I was kind of walking around going, did I make the right choice? Did I pick the right company? And I opened a cabinet in my kitchen, and there was oils. I went to the bathroom and I opened the kitchen or the counter cabinet. There was oils in several drawers. They're in my office. They're in my living room. They're in our home gym. They're in my car. They're in my purse. So they're infused into our life. We use them in multiple different ways. And I just noticed that we were all in on the product and what it has done for us personally. If you've never used essential oils and you don't exactly know how they work, I would love for you to reach out and let's just have a conversation. It's a consumable product, and it doesn't ask anyone to change their current lifestyle to use oils. If you're doing another business and you just want to be a customer, that's 100% okay, because some people just purchase them for their own use. They're not looking for the business side. But if you're looking for a company to join that that you haven't found something that suits you yet, I'd love to have a conversation. Being in network marketing, it hasn't just rewarded me financially. It's given me a community of people that I didn't really even know that I needed. Of course, it gave us the time freedom. I didn't know how important time was until you have children and they grow up before your eyes so quickly. I never thought 20 years would go by fast, but it does. And the ability to work from home with my kids. They literally grew up in my office floor. So it was a win-win for me. And your success and mine will look different. I can promise you that. Some people want enough money to pay for their products. That's all the income they want from it. They just want to use the products, and that's fine. There's no push one way or the other. There's no right or wrong way. The one that works for you is perfect. So just so you know, I don't have a bag of tricks. I have a bag of I'm not quitting until. That is my motto. I'm just going to stay in it, because anyone can do this. The fact is, not everybody will. And I know, because I'm that anyone. I knew nothing coming into this. I had a lot of learning to do, and I do my best to teach people if they will listen to me, if they will, take my advice. If not, that's fine. They can go find it on their own. But I do try to help people miss the potholes that I went through. You don't need to have extra talents as a bag of tricks or special experience, just the will to win, no matter what, whatever that looks like for you. Do this one thing for yourself, and it can become very magical. It can provide not only financial freedom, but time freedom. And like I said, I didn't realize how much time freedom mattered to me until my oldest went to college, and he called and he said, "Mom, Coach says that I'm pitching on Friday." It was the very first time he stood on a college mound, and he said, "Can you and Dad come?" It wasn't a hesitation. It was, "I will be there." And so I want you to be able to have that kind of time freedom, is that you don't have to ask anybody else, "Can I? May I?" You can just get up and go. So you can read this whole blog post over on angelabrook.com. The name of it is "Hi, I'm Angela." I would love for you to leave me a comment, especially if you've heard the podcast and you went to the blog and read it. Leave me a comment and let me know that you stopped by. If we're not connected on Facebook, come look me up for Angela Brooks. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you for listening. Come over to angelabrook.com, and I will see you on the next podcast.